After years of teasing, I cut off my dad and set boundaries. They told me I'd murdered someone. Not literally, but the weight of their words made the room feel short on air. My cousin's text had landed like a gavel. "Maya, what happened? Is your dad okay?" My aunt's voicemail followed. "Family is family, sweetheart. You can't just walk away." The thing missing from all those messages wasn't my father's well-being. It was my right to breathe. I was 28 when I cut my dad off. He was 50 and married to Ellen for more than 20 years. I had wanted happiness for him and peace for me. Instead, I got a smile that felt like sunshine and words that felt like a blade. Ellen's favorite trick was to dress a Barb in concern. She would say, "You'd be so pretty if you lost some weight," as if she were chatting about salads. Or she would tilt her head and diagnose me. "Your mom really messed you up, huh?" When I flinched, she performed surprise like it was charity. My dad would look at me like I had interrupted a poem he and Ellen were writing. Then he would take her side. The first time I told him I felt belittled, he said I was too sensitive. The second time, he said family relationships had layers and people teased. The third time, I came home to find my mother's brass locket gone. Ellen said she didn't like the energy it gave the room. My dad blinked and said it was tacky anyway. The last thing of my mother that lived in our house had been removed like clutter. I learned to swallow. I turned my life into a negotiation, offering small sacrifices to keep a larger piece that never really arrived. I showed up for holidays and kept my head down. I smiled through a little advice on skincare and through reminders to stop taking things personally. I even stayed at an office job I didn't like because my dad liked to tell people I was doing well. Pride can be a leash if you ignore the collar. That night we sat down to dinner, my cousin just gone and the lasagna still warm. Ellen twirled her fork and aimed for my softest parts. She cooed, "You'll probably never settle down with that attitude," and looked to my dad for the laugh. The heat rose in me like a flare I had spent years tamping down. I stood and said, "Stop." The room fell into that brittle silence people use before they choose sides. Ellen widened her eyes and said, "What? I'm just teasing." I said, "You don't get to tease me into feeling small." My dad's face collapsed into bewilderment. He said, "Don't start drama in my house." I pushed back from the table. I walked out without my purse and without looking back because looking back would have made me second guess. The night air felt like an exit ramp I had been circling for years. I breathed in, and for a moment the world widened. Back home, I did the thing I had told myself I would never have to do. I blocked their number and wrote about what happened on my social media. It felt like slamming a door on a decade and a half of being small. It also felt like the first clean inhale I had taken in years. The next morning, the verdict arrived from the peanut gallery. My screen lit with relatives who loved the idea of family more than its work. I missed my father's laugh even as I silenced his calls. Grief and relief sat next to each other like strangers who refused to trade names. The morning after, my phone performed its own family reunion. Everyone showed up by proxy, thumbs loud where their mouths had been polite. Grandma wrote, "You've thrown everything away," and I could hear the porch swing creak under her certainty. I wanted to text back. I threw away a script, not a life. My aunt sent paragraphs about forgiveness that read like a sermon stapled to a guilt trip. She meant well, I told myself, because meaning well was the cheapest currency in our family. My cousins flooded me with memes about family drama, all neon text over cartoon ducks. Humor was their way of saying, "We're not taking sides, please don't make us." Under the noise, guilt lay there like a heavy sweater in July. I missed my father's laugh, the way he used to catch my eye in a theater and turn me into a co-conspirator with a single look. A few days later, a blocked number found a side door. Phones have ways of introducing you to your own boundaries.
"It's been a while. Ellen and I read what you wrote. We want to talk."
His voice sounded threadbare, like he had ironed it too many times. I waited and breathed through the prickle that warned me of old patterns.
"I'm sorry, I didn't realize it hurt you so much. I thought I was being light."
The apology slid across the line like a rehearsed bow. I had collected apologies in my mind for years, like pennies for a purchase that never shipped.
"We could meet next weekend. Neutral ground. Claire's place."
I said maybe. I said I needed time. I drafted a mental note card for the meeting. When you laughed at me, it didn't feel like teasing. It felt like dismissal. I wrote 3 needs in bold in my head: acknowledgement, change, time. I listed demands I thought were reasonable, then the ones that were really just grief in costume. Admit you were wrong. Stop gaslighting me. No jokes about my body. Ask before touching anything of mine. I texted a friend and asked for advice. She returned 2 lines that felt like instructions for a parachute. Bring someone, and don't forgive in the room. I decided to go alone and carry her words instead. If forgiveness came, it would come on my timeline, not as a performance on theirs. The house smelled like a store-bought candle and effort. My dad sat with his hands clasped like his fingers were negotiating. Ellen perched as if the cushion might judge her posture.
Thank you for coming, all of you. Let's try to keep this clear and kind.
Maya, I'm sorry. I should have seen it. I thought she was joking.
I told him I had needed him to step between the joke and me. I said that his silence had become the loudest sound in the room.
I didn't mean to hurt you. I thought it was light.
I brought up the locket, the brass one that smelled like tobacco and lemon soap. The last of my mother in our house. I asked where it had gone in her story.
It was clutter. I thought it would go to charity.
I explained how years of small cuts can misalign a bone until the whole body tilts. I told them about the inheritance of silence I had been carrying since I was 10.
Why didn't you tell me sooner?
Fear, habit, hope. I kept thinking one more smile might change everything.
Here's what I'm hearing: acknowledgement, concrete changes, and space. Can we agree to a structure and check-ins?
I'll read what you wrote, all of it, and I'll try to see where I hid behind peace. I'll step in when lines are crossed.
I'll stop the teasing, especially about your body. I'll ask before I move or donate anything of yours.
Limited contact for 3 months with scheduled check-ins. If there's a slip, contact pauses until counseling starts.
I'll moderate and be on call if things wobble. We'll write it down so it's not just air.
It wasn't a movie moment, no orchestral swell, no cinematic forgiveness. It was a cautious map sketched in pencil, routes we might erase or darken later. I left with my emotions like a suitcase I hadn't zipped. Relief and fatigue jostled each other all the way to the door. On the porch, the quiet sounded like advice I couldn't quite make out. 3 months can be a bridge or a rope. I didn't yet know which one I was walking. I waited to see if their words would become behavior, not just noise with better manners. A week later, Ellen sent a short email apologizing again and promising to enroll in a communication course Aunt Claire recommended.
I'm sorry, Maya. I didn't understand the harm. I'm signing up for a communication class Claire sent me.
I made too much chili and thought of you. Also, I read your piece again. I'm trying to see where I hid behind peace.
I kept the calls short and the edges clear. Limited contact, scheduled check-ins, no forgiveness on demand. Progress measured in inches still counts as distance. I tried to notice the inches. Am I healed? No. Am I kinder to myself for finally naming it? Yes. My boundary didn't kill a man. It saved a part of me that had been asking for air. I still wanted the simple father I remembered before conflict made him timid. I grieved the locket and the years I spent explaining my feelings to people who asked me not to have them. When people said I'd thrown everything away, I realized they meant a version of family that only survives if you ignore the bad parts. I chose a smaller, honest family over a big, dishonest one. Some days it felt lonely. Most days it felt like breathing in a room with open windows. Forgiveness, I learned, is a slow currency. You can accept an apology without erasing the ledger. The locket was never returned. My mother's things had been donated. I stepped between bracelets and chains, eyes catching on every brass glint that wasn't mine.
I asked them. They can't trace donations. I should have stopped it. I'm so sorry.
I told him the hurt wasn't only about the object. It was about the choice to let it go without asking.
I thought tidying would make things easier. I didn't see you disappearing with the clutter.
We stood in the aisle and let the loss be real instead of performative. No fix, just a truth we could both hold without dropping me.
This is our first check-in. Same rules: clear, kind, concrete. If anything slips, we pause and reset.
Before we start, is there anything you'd prefer we avoid discussing today? I can redirect if anyone goes there.
No comments about bodies or appearance, mine or anyone else's. Ask before moving my things. If I say I'm done, we stop.
I'll step in when lines bend, not after they break.
I'll keep moderating. We'll keep notes. Repair loves a paper trail.
I let myself feel a small, reluctant hope, the kind you hold in two hands so you don't drop it. Months in, there were days I wondered if I'd been too rigid, and other days I was proud I hadn't gone back on a boundary just to make dinner quieter.
I almost joked about your leftovers the other night. I caught myself. Thank you for the reminder about kindness over cleverness.
I saw a robin again. It made me think of your notebook of bird names. I'd like to go walking with you sometime, just us, if you'd like.
I let my father show, imperfectly, that he could choose me sometimes. I watched Ellen try, with mistakes and small, real efforts, to learn different moves. Nothing was cinematic, but the map we sketched stopped being pretend. It started to look like a road. My dad came by with a small box, hands shaking the way paper trembles in a breeze.
You don't have to accept it. I'm not asking you to forget. I'm asking you to let me try.
I didn't say yes and I didn't say no. I said, I'll give you the time to show me. What would you have done in my place? Was I wrong to set boundaries? Comment your thoughts below and like and subscribe for more stories.